I'm Jordan Rayner, and this is the Word Before Work. Today we're starting a new 4-week series here on the Word Before Work called What Easter Means for Our Work. Let's start in Romans chapter 8, verses 14 through 17. Here's what it says. For those who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God. The Spirit you received does not make you slaves so that you live in fear again. Rather, the Spirit you received brought about your adoption to sonship. And by him we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Now, if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ, if indeed we share in his sufferings, in order that we may also share in his glory. Now more than ever, our culture tells us to look to our careers for our sense of self-worth and identity. This, of course, can lead us to work out of a sense of fear rather than freedom. I don't think anybody has summarized this idea more honestly than Madonna when she said, quote, "My drive in life comes from a fear of being mediocre. I push past one spell of it and discover myself as a special human being, but then I feel as if I'm still mediocre and uninteresting unless I do something else. Because even though I have become somebody, I still have to prove that I am somebody. My struggle has never ended, and I guess it never will." End quote. What Madonna is looking for, I would argue what we're all looking for, is a verdict for our lives. We're looking for someone to say once and for all that we are valuable and worthy, that our very existence on this earth is justified. Listen, if Madonna can't find that in her work after becoming one of the most accomplished people in her generation, you and I never, ever will. So if we can't find this verdict and identity in our work, where can we find it? We find it at the tomb Jesus walked out of that first Easter morning. On Easter, Jesus secured the most important verdict of your life. Forgiven, and through faith in him, free from the penalty of death because Jesus conquered it once and for all. But here's the thing, our verdict is more than just forgiven. Think about a courtroom today. If a defendant is handed the verdict of not guilty, they're sent back out into the world to re-enter society on their own. But that's not how God's courtroom works. Through Jesus, our advocate, we are granted a verdict of innocence. But then the judge, God the Father, does something even more radical. He invites you and me to come home with him to share the inheritance of his son. Believer, you're not just forgiven. You're given a new identity as a co-heir with Christ. What does this mean for your work? What does it mean for my work? It means that we can work out of a sense of freedom rather than fear. If we, like Madonna, view our work as a means of chasing this ultimate verdict for our lives, we will never be satisfied. We will constantly be paranoid and afraid because we know the verdict always hangs in the balance over our heads. But if we work in response to a secure verdict that is handed down by our Creator, we can work freely as a joyful response of worship. Believer, in light of your secure identity as a co-heir with Christ, don't put yourself back into the courtroom today. Yes, we should be ambitious and do our most exceptional work for the glory of God and the good of others. But Easter assures us that regardless of what we accomplish today, court is adjourned. The jury has left the building. Our identity as adopted children of God is secure. Today's devotional only scratches the surface of how God's word connects to our work. If you want to go deeper, sign up for my free 20-day devotional called The Word Before Work Foundations at twbwfoundations.com. These email devotionals are designed to help you gain a rich understanding of the biblical narrative of work, how exactly your work matters for eternity, and what those truths mean for how we ought to work today. You can sign up right now, again, for free at twbwfoundations.com.